Hey, everybody. Greetings. This is Ross Ritterman with the Metropolis of San Francisco Music Ministry, greeting you as we approach the Feast of the Annunciation. Happy Greek Independence Day. May it be a joyous celebration with your friends and family to the extent we're able to celebrate today. Hopefully, we're all, at least to some extent, able to gather in church, even in a limited fashion, to be able to celebrate this feast and join in worship. Today, I wanted to present to you the Apolytikion, or the dismissal hymn of the Feast of the Annunciation. This is a very important feast. You may even have friends that attend a parish called Annunciation, so if you ever visit, it would be good to know this hymn, as it's very very popular, very well known, and just overall something good to have in your arsenal in terms of hymns for us to learn. So what we'll do today is we'll talk about the music. We'll talk about some of the modal theory. We'll read through the hymn. We'll talk about how the music generally functions within the scale that we're given here. We'll talk about some more. We'll chant it. We'll talk about some of the ornamentation here, and then we will send you on your way. All right. So again, this is an Apolytikion. As we see, sometimes Apolytikia are also, or the plural Apolytikia are also called the Troparia, or simply the song of the feast. And they are called Apolytikia because the first time we sing them is at the Apolysis, or the dismissal of Vespers. Vespers being the first service of the liturgical day, and at the dismissal is when we first hear the hymns of the day, and in this case, the hymn of the feast. So as we know, this is the feast where the Virgin Mary said yes to God's plan. Said, "May it be according as it is according to your will," as we hear in the gospel. And so that's what we capture here. That finally the plan of salvation is made manifest to us. We understand for the first time God's plan. The Virgin Mary accepts the plan of God, and God Himself will become man for our salvation, as we hear in the hymns of the feast. So let's talk about what we see here. So this is an Apolytikion. We see that the mode is fourth. We have this initial martyria from Byzantine music. This means ikos tetartos. So this figure we see here is actually sort of an old stylized delta. So delta, alpha, beta, gamma, delta, delta the fourth letter of the Greek alphabet. So it's actually saying the fourth mode. And then we see here that there's a bass note of V, or in Western music, this corresponds to a G. And then we have this kind of hockey stick or lacrosse stick that's on its side pointing down with a single circle through the middle of it. And what this is telling us is that we're in the soft chromatic scale. This symbol is actually called a phthora, which is the generic term for the series of symbols that actually tell us that there's a change of mode. A phthora literally means a destroyer. So we are kind of destroying, or really changing what we came from and putting it into something new. And so what's worth pointing out here is that, and you may already know this, but hymns in fourth mode generally are in the diatonic scale. An example of things in fourth mode in the diatonic scale would be the canon of the Akathist that we chant on the Fridays of Great Lent, beginning with Anixotostomomu, or I will open my mouth. Those are in fourth mode using the diatonic scale. However, all Apolytikia in fourth mode use soft chromatic. And you can pretty much take that rule to the bank, as they say. Now, you might also be thinking, well, we have soft chromatic in some of our other modes of Byzantine music, most notably second mode. And we do also have Apolytikia in second mode. So what's the difference? Primarily, it's the endings. It's primarily that the ending of Apolytikia in second mode end on the note V or G, and in fourth mode, they end on the note VU or E. So compare this for example, to the hymn of the Sunday of Orthodoxy, which is an Apolytikion in second mode. And so you'll see that it, in fact, does have a different ending. Okay, so let us read through the text of the hymn, and then we're going to chant through it twice, first with the normal ending, and then the second time with the final ending. And the reason we have this final ending is because when we have feasts of the Theotokos, and also feasts of the Master, as they're called, or feasts of Christ, the hymns are chanted 3 times. And so usually on most resurrectional Sundays or on other days of the week, we will usually have an Apolytikion for the day, and then there's usually a corresponding Theotokion. Now, in the case of the Feast of the Theotokos, the Apolytikion is kind of also a Theotokion. It's also about the Theotokos. So in that regard, there really is no need to chant an additional Theotokion. It's all kind of wrapped up in one nice package, one hymn. And so for that reason, we'll chant this just 3 times. And so this would be chanted 3 times at the end of Vespers, as we discussed, at the beginning of Orthros, after the 6 Psalms, after God is the Lord, or Theos Kyrios. And then it'll be chanted several times, both as the small entrance is taking place during liturgy, and then after the small entrance as the clergy return to the altar. Okay, let us read through this. Today is the summary of our salvation and the revelation of the age-old mystery. For the Son of God becomes the Son of the Virgin, and Gabriel announces the good news of grace. Therefore let us join him and cry aloud to the Theotokos, Rejoice, maiden full of grace, the Lord is with you. Okay, now let's look at our music. So as I mentioned, this is in 4th mode, soft chromatic. The range of the piece is more or less between vu or e and zo, the B above that. However, it does kind of touch some of the extremities just a bit above and below. So we actually see a quick descent to pa right here at and the revelation, that's actually a pa or a D. And then we also have a couple of times where we will actually hit the note ni or si here on aloud, and then also at rejoice, kind of these penultimate high moments just before the end of the piece, this kind of final exclamation. We're hitting some high points here just before we end. As I mentioned, hymns in that are 4th mode Apolytikia will end on the note vu. We see that here, or e here in the Western notation. Okay, so I'm going to, as I said, chant through it twice, once normally and then the second time with the final ending, and then I'm going to point out some things rhythmically and with respect to ornamentation. Today is the summary of our salvation and the revelation of the age-old mystery. For the Son of God becomes the Son of the Virgin, and Gabriel announces the good news of grace. Therefore let us join him and cry aloud to the Theotokos, Rejoice, maiden full of grace, the Lord is with you. Today is the summary of our salvation and the revelation of the age-old mystery. For the Son of God becomes the Son of the Virgin, and Gabriel announces the good news of grace. Therefore let us join him and cry aloud to the Theotokos, Rejoice, maiden full of grace, the Lord is with you. Okay, wonderful. So as I mentioned, a couple things I wanted to point out here rhythmically. Here in the Byzantine notation, we see this red symbol, which you may recall is called a gorgon, not exactly related to Medusa, for example, but it's meant to kind of split the time here, the duration of these notes. What a gorgon says to do is to split in half the time of the note it's upon and the note before it. So normally this note here and this note here, or if we're looking here in the Western notation, this G and this A would each be eighth notes. However, we do see this dot in front of the gorgon. And what this actually does is it actually splits the time here, makes it 1/3 and 2/3. So it's going to be very subtle, but the idea is that we want to attack the word virgin with just a little bit more speed than we otherwise would. So instead of virgin, it would instead be virgin, like that. And we see that again also here at Theotokos, Theotokos, like that. because again, we're giving a third of the duration to this and 2/3 of the duration of the note here. So this is actually much shorter. Well, relatively shorter. A third versus a half. So again, very subtle, but you can kind of hear that there is a difference between tokos, tokos. A couple other things to point out is this note combination here. So we see what's called an oligon, and above that's a cantimata. Both of these things mean to go up one. And then we have this qualitative symbol underneath. This is called a psiphiston. Here in the Western music, we see that this is presented here as simply two notes that are tied together, meaning, as I just said, to go up one, to go up one. So we go from, in this case, a G to an A B to a C, a B to a C. However, within the oral tradition of Byzantine music, when we see this combination of notes, join, aloud, and then on the joyce of rejoice, we actually have some options when it comes to how we might express that. So I might chant this, therefore let us join him. So I can do a flutter as I hit the top of this sequence of notes. I might also sing, cry aloud to the Theotokos. So another way to do this is to actually jump over the top note and come back down while staying within the time or the chronos of the piece. Now, I probably wouldn't do the same ornamentation twice in a row. And in fact, just to be clear, it's perfectly all right to sing this just as it's written. Therefore, let us join him and let cry aloud to the Theotokos. So you could very well sing just going up one and up one again and coming back down as it indicates, if you're not quite comfortable giving this some extra ornamentation. But I just point this out because this is sort of a standard practice within the oral tradition of Byzantine music. And then as we saw here, we had this final ending indicating that we are signaling essentially to the people that we're about to kind of finish this section, and then also that it's time for the clergy, either the priest or a deacon, if there is one, to come out and give petitions or say a prayer or something along those lines. All right, well, I hope this has been helpful. Appreciate you being with us again. Again, happy Feast of the Annunciation, happy Greek Independence Day. We look forward to seeing you again and giving you some more videos to help with your musical journey here through the hymns of the Orthodox Church. Again, Ross Ritterman with you from the Metropolis of Music, Metropolis of San Francisco Music Ministry. Excited to see you again and looking forward to the next time.